Alrighty. So I wanted to do a quick video, um, just regarding the I guess base layers is really what I focus on here, that I use and what works for me in Northeast United States, in the Northeast of the United States. Um, yeah, and so before I do that, I did want to talk a little bit about base layers in general, and I guess really the why, why you should have a base layer, the purpose of it. Um, and the first and primary purpose of a base layer is to get moisture off your body. In the cold, moisture is your worst enemy. There's nothing that's going to make you uncomfortable. And at the end of the day, nothing that could potentially kill you faster than moisture. A dry body in the cold is going to last a lot longer than a wet one. So, with that being said, that's the primary purpose of a base layer, is to get the moisture off your skin, keep you nice and dry. And the secondary kind of purpose of it would be kind of your first layer of insulation, the first layer that traps body heat. So it doesn't let your body heat just dissipate into the atmosphere. They're not really. I say that as a secondary because that's super thin. There's not a lot of loft to them, obviously. Some base layers, I'll show you. I do use one that has a fleece grid in it, but I'll show you how in a couple seconds. So yeah, that's the purpose of a base layer. Primary purpose is moisture control. And from that, not only does it help with warmth, but it also helps with sun control, because the more moisture you have, building up on that hike in, that walk in to your stand, or if you're hunting out west and you're just hiking, you're doing a lot of going through a lot of terrain. That scent builds up, and if you can keep as much of that moisture off, it's going to the scent and the bacteria growth that creates the scent is going to be limited. So, with that being said, what I use to hunt the Northeast and the base layers that I've picked that really, really work well, I've been through a lot of base layers, a lot of synthetics, polyesters, nylons, things like that. And, they'll get the moisture off your body, but there are just some things that God's put on this planet that work a whole lot better than plastic. And that's wool. Wool just is a amazing material. It is hyper comfortable. If it's a good wool, obviously you have the wool that's scratchy, but if you invest in some really, really good wool base layers, or a base layer that's made primarily of wool, it's just the comfort level is so much greater. I mean, for me, those polyesters and those nylons, they rub against my skin, and it just is not comfortable. I cannot wait to get out of them by about, I don't know, the first hour into my sit. So I'm going to bring the camera up close, show you again what works for me, the layers that I use, and go from there. All right, here's what I use. I use a First Lite base layer. This is their lightest version. I don't recall the name. I'll try and put it in the video if I can figure that out. But it's their lightest blend that they use. And I top that, when it gets really, really cold, I top that with a Sitka grid fleece base layer. So, I would say October through mid to late November, I'm just wearing these. And then as we get into late November, early December, and into January, I'm topping those with these. The reason I chose two different base layers, what's termed, this is technically a heavyweight base layer, this is a lightweight. The reason I did that is because I guess I just like to find things that excel at one thing. They do it one job, and they do it really, really well. And the First Lite, again, their lightest blend, base layer, wicks moisture, is super comfortable close to my skin, and keeps my scent down to a minimum, the best. again, I've worn a lot of different base layers, some expensive, some cheap, and nothing does it better than First Lite. And with that being said, I still like the closeness. I guess I like insulation that isn't too bulky, so that's why I go to this. Late season, I add that layer, and then I have some thicker insulation, but I still have a lot of freedom of movement with this system, and it's keeping me warm. I don't like to feel restricted. I'm primarily a bow hunter, and I don't like to feel restricted, when there's an animal walking around me or something like that. I like to have freedom of movement, and having this helps a ton. So that's what I use. Now, this isn't a video about which is better, because they both serve a purpose in my system, at least, and they both do a really good job. Now, I don't really think I'll ever get a heavyweight wool base layer from First Lite, other than possibly just for everyday use. Just because I think, in my humble opinion, I think that a thick fleece or a grid fleece like this does a better job at insulation than wool does. That's just my opinion. To be honest, I really haven't had a lot of thick wool clothing, but synthetics do a pretty amazing job at providing insulative properties. So with all that being said, again, this video was just aimed at showing you guys what I used in the cold Northeast, sitting in a tree stand, in December and January when all the leaves are gone and the wind's blowing and it's 20 degrees, which is exactly what happened last week, and it's just bloody cold. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, just my 2 cents, and yeah, until next time. Psych! You thought this video was over. I forgot to mention I don't just wear pants. I do have the corresponding tops. So now it's over. We'll see ya.